Raivis, what's up, man? How you doing?
Cool. Yeah. Hey, what's up?
It's been a long time, man.
A long, long time. Jeez.
Long time, man. But dude, tell me what's new with you, man. It's been like God, like years, like six, seven
Jeez. I
years.
mean, a lot's new. I've moved, two or three times, and I've been taking, music production pretty seriously.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I moved to Virginia, so I've been here for about 2.5 years, and I'm living in this basement. And it's helped me be pretty productive because there's less distractions than when I was
Yeah,
living in DC.
yeah, man. Oh, okay. So you were in DC before, or were you just in
Yeah,
North
I was
America?
living in Adams Morgan for like 4 years or so.
Gotcha, gotcha, dude. So you know what's crazy though? Like from when I knew you, you had that laptop with like Fruity Loops
Yeah.
on it. And so I remember that. I remember that. Like you loved it. You loved making music. And that was like years ago. And like I
Mhm.
see what you're up to now, and I'm like, damn, guy, he never stopped. You're just still doing the same
Yeah.
thing, man. So was that like the beginning of everything? Like is that like did I meet you like when it just first started, like your love of like
Actually, oh yeah, I started out with Cakewalk. I was just doing some small compositions. I don't even, geez, it was so long ago. I was probably just trying to reinvent music back then, just trying
hmm
to do something really unique. Um, but then I got FL Studios by the time I think it was like my 18th birthday, and I just didn't stop using it until I was about like 20. I think, yeah, we went to the same college, and so I was making beats at school, and it was through probably while I was still about 21 or so when I actually stopped making music. And then I just wanted to focus on like personal training and, being in college because that it takes a lot of brain power to just put all of your energy in one thing.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. So like back then when you started FL Studio, like were you playing? Have you had any experience playing like instruments before that, or?
oh yeah, so I mean, I played the clarinet for since I was in fourth grade. So I had this kind of classical background, and I was in
Okay.
the dance band. I was in all the bands in school, and like bands as in like school bands. I did pep band, and then yeah, I would just like play. I loved the clarinet, but the clarinet section was right next to the piano, so I was making little
Cool.
melodies and stuff with my right hand. I didn't really understand how to make full formed ideas until like a random substitute teacher told me like this is what you can do with your left hand, and then make stuff, and it just started like spiraling out of control.
Gotcha. So like, do you still have like any of those like earlier recordings of like your first FL Studio?
I
Like,
do. I do.
so
I posted them on YouTube.
okay, so like when you look back, like, do you say like, oh man, I sucked, or were you like, oh, or do you think you always like had that talent, or did it develop over the years?
No way, man. The talent, I would definitely say a majority of the time develops over time. Like it's gonna take years for you to develop something that people are actually gonna start really liking. You might
Yeah,
have like that innate talent to just come up with an idea and be inspired by something, but execution is where the hard work really comes in, and it becomes
yeah,
easier and easier as you're working towards that. Um,
gotcha, gotcha. So like,
yeah,
let's talk about the style of your music, man.
sure.
Like what do you think separates you from all the other artists out there?
Man, I'm always, so the thing is I'm listening to everyone out there. I like anyone new, anyone old. I'm just trying to figure out what the direction of music is, what people are liking nowadays, what people aren't liking, what the kids are listening to. And like I'm just trying to get an idea, a feel for it all. So when I make my interpretation, I'm just doing whatever I'm influenced by. Like any type of music that I really like, that like if I just heard a new song on the radio, or a new song on Spotify, or on like New Music Friday or something like that on a playlist, I'm gonna put that right into my DAW, digital audio workstation, and figure
Right.
out what works for that song, and just like break it down. And just through the fact that I'm touching it, it already is coming out as a something unique. It's just I'm never gonna be able to make something exactly the same as someone else. So it already is gonna be my own fresh take on that thing. So that's how I like got better and better over time. Just started
Hmm.
creating a taste for my own sound.
Cool, cool. So like, let's take it way back. So like, what were you listening to growing up? Like, what type of music were you into?
Oh man, this is gonna be like this is gonna be funny because it's not gonna make any sense to the music I'm making right now.
All right, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
All right, so I got, my parents didn't like any of the music, the kids were listening to when I was like 10. So they got me listening to like folk music. I was listening to Pete Seeger, and they're like, "This land is your land, this land is my land." So I was listening to that. I was listening to Benny Goodman because I got into the clarinet when I was in 4th grade, and I was listening to Louis Armstrong. I was listening. Then I transitioned and I started feeling bad for Pete Seeger because I started listening to the Beatles. And so then I
Gotcha.
went on this whole Beatles phase and like loving, their music. And then from the Beatles, I would just, listen to random Hot 99.5, the morning show that I would be waking up to, and I'd be on the bus, like, on the way to school, just hearing Sean Paul, like shake that,
Yeah.
gotta shake, like I was listening
Yeah.
to everything, but that, like, it just started evolving over time. And now I just like listen to even if it sounds like gothic, trap, screamo, death, hardcore, like whatever, I'm listening to it just to figure out what elements really like they captured, what energy did they capture with that, and like can I really resonate with it, and also put that into my music in some way or form.
Gotcha. So you like started off just listening to like old school things at home. Do you
Kind of.
think
I
that
mean, I think it, like I wasn't like connected with, like I was listening to like oldies 100 and DC 101 and stuff like that, but that was
right,
more just because I got a radio and at that time, and I had to listen to
right.
something, and that was the only thing I really liked, was kind of like rock music. I wanted to be I was just saw my mom for Easter, and she was telling me that I wanted to be like this rock star, and so like it completely shifted from being that to being kind of like a all around producer, that like a super producer who's just producing music for all genres, like figuring out what really, I just resonate with so many different styles that I don't want to just put myself in one box.
Gotcha. So like where do you see your like do you think you're happy with the style you have right now, or do you think it's like you're not there yet, you're still trying to figure it out, or do you think it's just going to keep evolving over the years?
Yeah, honestly, I think there is a certain point where you start realizing you've developed enough skill, and that you've created a certain sound that people can just like, they hear it and they're like, that sounds good. But like for what makes me happy, that's a whole nother, conversation, because when I make something and I like try to deliver it with a certain vision, and if it comes
Yeah.
out that way, yeah, I'm happy with it, but I'm already ready for the next one. I'm like ready to see what else I can create. So the music that I've been making now, I've been really applying patience and just like trying to figure out what I need to do to make it to that level where I feel people will really relate to it. And I think that the next song, even this song that I've got coming out on Friday, Don't Know Her Name, that's just going to be an example of that, because it took about 2 years to make that song. And it literally, like the bones of the track was all there. They were there. And then I just needed to be completely confident with what I had. And it just took years to do that. And also finding another vocalist for it, and, some other things, just, so that way it could be completely straight for when I wanted to release it.
All right, let's talk about the new track. Don't Know Her Name. It's coming out this Friday. You know, just tell us about it, man. Like how, like the type of song it, like what should we be expecting? Like the type of
Oh
song,
man.
what it's about, the process. Let's hear it.
Oh, okay. It's funny. So my like when I was living in DC, what I do is I just love going out and seeing where I can find random artists that are playing on the streets. So like I'll hear this, literally every part of this song was made by a street performer. I mean, and me. Like, it is me finding a street performer, saying, "Hey, let's go to the studio," and then us figuring, creating a friendship, and then
Wow.
finally, like years later, being like, "Hey, I'm working on
Uh-huh.
this track. Can you, come to the studio and work on it?" There's this guy, Jason. So he's the pianist, keyboard player for the same band actually that Joe Show was part of. So I heard, all right, so I heard of Jason before Joe Show, but I heard Joe Show's voice when I was in Georgetown, and I heard his voice like just vibrating through the city buildings. I had to find the
Uh-huh.
source, and I found it like in this alleyway, and there was just a whole bunch of people around, and I just really liked his energy. He has a great stage presence. and just like he's an amazing voice. So after the show, I realized while he was performing that Jason was there too, and so I walked up to Jason, you know, and said, hey, you know, how you been? You know, it's good to see you. And you introduced me to the singer. So then he introduced me to Joe Show, and then we created a time. I was like, when can you get into the studio? I mean, I produce music. It'd be cool for us to make something if you're open to it. And then he just came down to the studio. We made the bones of Don't Know Her Name, and then I was like, it really needs something, so let's I just called on Jason. Jason was the keyboard player. We just played around with some ideas and really like putting in a lot of time on figuring out exactly what it needed, and he did such a good job. We both like came up with some awesome ideas, and obviously the track wouldn't be the same without him, and also the writing of Joe to Show. You know, we all the effort we put in together really made this track what it is. And it's funny, the singer that you're gonna hear on it is his name. Man, I always like look at his name and I always say it different. So I think it's Nelly. But it's Nelly with the NYLI or Nelly or something like that. It's just like a
Is he a DC artist?
Yeah, he's an artist that also I met him on street performing, and he was just singing, and his voice was so phenomenal. I was like, this is what the track needs, and I hired him to do it, and he right on the, you know, he executed a month later, and that was that. We had a really great record.
Cool, man. I'm excited to hear it, man.
Yeah, honestly, so it's the vibe that it is going to be like this R&B, old time R&B, like we're going back to the 2000s.
Wow.
With this R&B, so it's gonna be like a fresh take on the old R&B.
Cool. All right. Let's touch on that for a second. So, like, when I first met you, it must have been like 2011, 2012.
Mm-hmm.
The music from that time and music right now, like they're different. You know what's on the radio? They're different types of music. I'm not saying you can't make, like, artists aren't making songs with like 90s, you know, like, I don't know, throwbacks, like you'll still see styles from like other, you know, decades right now, but overall, like music in general, like, it's different than any other decade or any other time. So, like, what I want to ask is, do you change when it comes to your music? Do you try to stay with the times, or like, do you try to evolve with the times, or do you not pay attention to that at all?
So I'm definitely the type of guy to always try to push to see what the type of genre is missing or could use, or you know, just my interpretation of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I love just so many different types of music that I'm not opposed to putting, if the vibe needs this certain sound. I'm making a lot of, like, it's funny enough, like the last maybe 2-3 years I've been making a lot of like retro vibes, and then all of a sudden now this year 2020, I'm hearing a lot of retro 80s drums. You hear a lot of
Yeah.
in the weekends music, and just like a lot of other pop types of artists, they have all these retro vibes, and so I'm like, this is cool. Like I feel like I'm on trend, but also that's just like one small sliver of type of the genres that I'm working on. So
Mm-hmm.
I like so many different types of genres that I'm not, you know, bolted down by what this era is doing. I'm just like, if I want to make some R&B, I'm going to try and make an R&B. If I make retro, I want to do some old 80s retro, or maybe a new version of that retro. So
Cool. So you don't feel limited at all, because
no way.
pretty much whatever's going on, whatever type of track that they throw at you, you'll be all right.
Yeah,
Couldn't
honestly,
pick it off.
the thing is, I haven't really done a lot of country, but that's just because I haven't been exposed to a lot of country artists.
Mm,
It doesn't mean that I can't figure it out. Literally, that's like the role of a music producer, is to figure out what will make the singer or songwriter, like, put all of that together and make the best combination, so that way it has exactly what it needs. So
yeah,
I just haven't had to apply my country-ish roots, whatever those are, but pretty much all
I
genres
gotcha.
are off limit.
But if you had to, you could probably maybe not even figure it out. You could just put your own spin on it. Like, I'm talking like Old Town Road type of thing. You know what I mean? Like, you can make it work. You can make it
Honestly,
work
I
by yourself.
really believe like the music has a formula, and so if you understand what the formula is, the bass, how many layers it has, the melodic roots, where even the melody is, like what genre is that really stemming from. Like a lot of country has this kind of folk pop-ish vibe to it. Now it's becoming even more pop-ish. So it really depends on the influence of the artist and how I want to like bring out what type of energy they're trying to convey. That's really the most important part, is can I convey their energy in the form of music?
Cool, man. Hey, man, I never really asked this, but like back when I first met you, like, what were you majoring in?
I was majoring in exercise science. So I
Exercise
wanted to
science.
be, yeah, personal trainer. And then I was thinking about getting in kinesiology and working towards getting into physical therapy.
So, but like on the side, you were making music, and I could tell you obviously love music. So, like, what was going on in your head? Were you like, okay, this is just gonna be a hobby, or is this gonna be something I do on the side, or
Okay, yeah.
what did you think of it at that time?
Honestly, I was so ignorant to the music industry, what I was gonna do with it. I was just creating to create, and like for the love of what I was doing. Because I mean, the thing is, it was funny because it's such a psychological journey that when you're making something, you think that like, oh, you got a great idea, I'm gonna put it down. Oh, this is gonna be so good. I can't wait for people to hear it. And then you realize it doesn't sound good at all. So then you like psychologically, you have to be a little aware of the fact that what you're doing might be good, but it also is something to help you get to that next point where you might,
Mm,
improve and make something that people really do relate to. Or not everything that you make is going to be completely like compelling to other people. So I think I was at that point. I had just I was just getting a little discouraged because I was trying to make groups. Like I was trying to make a group of musicians. I didn't have a good network at that time. I wasn't
mm,
really, I didn't know what I was doing at all, really. I had no direction. So it was kind of me figuring it out, trying to, see what I can do. But I stopped making music after that for like 2 years. And I was just focusing on the, fitness side of things. And I was
right.
doing fitness and martial arts, and music was just fell on the wayside. So it was just out of nowhere that it was that like desire within all of us to like express ourselves and create something that is lasting but also can relate to people, that just kept on like making me feel I wasn't living up to what I wanted to live up to. That it
Hmm.
just things that I would feel like little melodies, or like just I just didn't feel like I was expressing myself how I wanted to, and I felt music was that perfect avenue to do that. And I just, you make a lot of avenues of friendships and also professional relationships that can get you to a point where you just have a huge, profound love for not just the creative, side of making a melody and like being inspired, but also the technical sides of what makes the music what it is, and looking at it from a logical standpoint where a producer should be coming from in order to create the best vibe that artist should, not, it isn't always going to be from a logical side, but at least from a technical standpoint to make that sound the best it can.
Gotcha. All right, man. I have to ask. So, if you could pick, who would be your top three dream collabs? I'm talking dead or
You
alive.
you already know one would be Rottweiler. Yeah.
Oh, oh God.
No, okay,
We're
Dead
just
or Alive.
talking. So for everyone watching, that was my rap name back in the day. Do you really remember that? I guess it's still my Instagram name.
Yeah, it was funny because I knew that you were part of a band and you played guitar. And so I always had
Yeah.
you kind of in the back of my mind that like I would have you on Instagram, and if I saw anything that you were doing, I was like, let's see what he's doing with his music. Uh yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah.
At the time, I was in a band called. Well, I did play guitar, but I was in a band called Crash Concept, and it was like a rap rock band. So I put out like a mixtape. That was like my first year of college. I put out a mixtape, but then I also did this thing in I was rapping in Crash Concept, so I thought it was like this cool thing of like, oh, it's Rottweiler. He's a solo guy, but he also has his band. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It was fun at the time, man. It was definitely fun. A lot of
Yeah,
cool
and
memories.
it's just such a great memory to have, but also like it could be something that helps you in 10 years where you didn't know what you were doing back then, but then all of a sudden you see an opportunity and you're like, wow, like I have some experience in this. I can try applying this and actually become part of a group and like figure out how to bring everyone together. So I
Yeah.
always think your experiences that you have, you know, they never go to waste, and that there's always something you can get out of something, even if it
No, no,
doesn't go your way.
I agree with you because from doing that, being in that band, it's like from there it led me to like doing show promotions. Everyone's like, "How are you booking your band?" I'm like, "I could book your band." I got into show promotions. I started it's
Hmm.
called DMV bookings. From DMV bookings, I was like, "Look at all these rappers out here. Like they all want to be interviewed. I could make my own page and interview them." And then it turned into this, and then turned. So it all started. You know what I mean? It might have not worked out with my original goal, but look, it got me here. You know what I mean? And I get to do
Yeah,
what I love. You know what I mean? I get to make videos for a living now, so it's
that's
cool.
awesome.
Yeah, man.
That's the dream, though. Like that's what people are all trying to figure out how to do, and then sometimes it just falls in your lap because you failed at something, and then or I don't really call it fail, but like it didn't work out, and then something just it opens up, and you realize that this
Yeah,
is the thing that you wanted to do. But then also it could go completely the opposite in what you're doing right now. It's like it works, but then there's like in 5 years later, you're like, actually, I want to do that solo singing thing again and see where I can
yeah,
take that.
yeah. I guess the most important thing is just to try. Just
Mm.
to give it your best shot and just try to stick at it and just
Yeah,
do it.
I would say yeah, trying is huge, but I think that like there is such thing as like empty work ethic, like where you're not working towards
Mm,
anything. And what really like creates progress, I feel, is putting constant pressure to improve and like share and you know, just figure out how to push the limitations of what you already are capable of. And so if you're just trying, you're not necessarily doing that. You're just kind of like spinning your wheels without actual putting the effort in the right place. Because you could say there's a lot of people that are just, they claim to be doing something, but they're just doing it so they can claim to do it. You know, that they're just
yeah,
saying
yeah,
like, oh
yeah.
yeah, I've done martial arts and I do this, but like, how much are you really applying your energy and focus towards improving in that thing? So as long as you're trying to focus on that improving side of things, I think it'll all work out in one way or another, even if it's not in that exact field. But just because you have that knowledge, but also you were able to focus in a certain, you know, put a certain amount of attention in and focus in something that it like taught you a lesson in the end.
Gotcha. All right, man. Let's take it way, way, way back. Let's talk about your childhood, man. Like I don't know anything about your childhood. It's like, where'd you grow up? Where were you born? Where'd you grow up? Let's hear it.
Yeah. So I grew up in Bethesda, for Bethesda, Maryland, and I lived there for since I was 4, and I was adopted when I was 4, and I was adopted from Latvia, and yeah, from an orphanage, and then I went on a plane and came to America, lived
Do you have
there
any memories?
for
Do you have any memories before you were 4? Because I remember
yeah.
things when I was 2, so I'm like wondering. So you remember your birth parents?
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember what they look like. I do remember that I was a misfit and I got in, you know, to trouble and I got people into trouble. And I love playing on the playground and running in the snow. The snow is one of my favorite memories.
That's crazy, man. So you remember meeting your birth parents for the first time?
I don't know. I don't remember that at all.
I remember that.
I remember my actual parents now. I remember meeting them and having our little interview sessions, or you know, spent the like 3 or 4 days figuring out if we were the right fit for one another, and like being tested and you know seeing what kind of kid I was gonna be.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, like picking out the certain toys and being like, oh, he's gonna be a race car driver. You know, like seeing
Did you
if
understand what was going on at the time?
I had no idea. I think that subtly, I mean, I still made a choice. That's why, like, I'm at peace with, you know, being adopted. And I think other people
Yeah.
will be affected by it differently. But I think it's because I ultimately made the choice that I felt, even though it was on a level where I was like, am I going to get these toys? Like, that's what I was
Yeah.
looking at. If I go with these people, they'll give me toys. So where I'm at, I'm not getting toys. So I'm seeing that there's a benefit.
Oh.
They're already enhancing my life in a certain way. Like they're looking out, like looking after me. That I was able just to make that decision based off of like a feeling, and also the fact I'm getting toys.
God. Not to make it too sad, but you remember like the last goodbye? Or
Of
nah?
last goodbye at the orphanage. It was kind of, it was just like a, see you later, guys. Like, I've
Like, no,
made
like
it, like,
when you say goodbye to your birth parents.
no, they left me at the orphanage. I mean, like,
Oh, so that was it. They didn't really say goodbye, I guess, because
yeah, I
it would have
think
been
we
too
said
much.
goodbye, and before that even happened, like, we said goodbye when they dropped me off, and it was just kind of their way of saying, we can't take care of you right now, and this is it, maybe we
Yeah,
can reopen the doors, but that was it.
gotcha. But they don't like leave you with any like information on them or anything, right?
Yeah, I know their names. The names are cool, and I don't know. I think they might have left me some toys. I think I might have some around here. Oh, I moved, so I get.
Oh, it's crazy,
Yeah, I
dude.
have
So
this
like,
like
would
Corvette.
you want to meet with them again someday, or?
Yeah, why not? I mean, if they're still around, I'm not like. There's nothing like I've completely forgiven the past, and
Yeah.
I'm open to meeting new people, and even if those people gave birth to me, it doesn't change my opinion.
Oh, of course. Like,
So.
were you angry about that growing up, or
No, no,
no?
I've never really felt anger towards it. Yeah, it doesn't really. It didn't affect me that way. It affected my sister a little differently, but yeah, adoption can definitely affect you in all sorts of ways.